Hello, so welcome to this video. So this video is just about basic Python. The elements that we discuss in this video are not very useful for our project specifically, but these are some basic things about Python that one needs to know at least. In the description, I will give some resources, free resources that you can use to learn Python in depth. But I'm just covering some simple things here. Uh, if you are very well versed with Python, you can just skip this video and move on to the next one. So let's see what we will be covering. We will be covering list, set, dictionary, conditional statements, if else, and for loop. We have other things, but I'm not going much into it. Okay. So what is list? A list is a data structure. You can think of it like something that holds your data. Let me just show you. So I will just name L1, list 1. And there are two ways of creating a list. The first one is just, this is the keyword. List, I talked about keywords previously in one of the videos. So list is a keyword that will create a list. Uh, Other way of creating is just square brackets and add your elements that you want to add. So this list now consists of these three numbers, and if I print L1, just run this, you can see here 1, 2, 3. Now the great thing about list is that you can have dissimilar elements as well. So different types of we talked about various types of variables in one of the video and in this series, and so these values are integer, so I can also add a string here. Just my name maybe, and other can be 4.6. This is a float value, this is a string, and if I just run again, you can see we have here output. There is no error. So that's the advantage of a list. You can have various dissimilar elements to working at the same time. So one of the most important commands to know is to add an item to a list. So here you notice we have these 5 elements. So what if now I want to add the another element, the sixth element? So the only thing, a simple thing that I need to do is L1 dot append, and I can add anything, say 8. So now I print it, and you can see here at the bottom I have 8. I have 8 here in the list. So another way of inserting an element through index. So indexing is the sort of way of fetching values. So the indexing starts from 0. So if here I just print, now how do you index it? Use square brackets and you give index. So 0 means that this is the first element here, the integer value 1. So it will print 1. I'll show you. You can see here 1. Similarly, there are also negative values for index. So you can use negative values as well, and it will start from the last element. So if, and this time it starts from -1. So if I take -1, it will give me the last element. So yeah, 8. It was my last element in the list. Uh, so these are the two ways way of indexing. Again, we have a concept of slicing. So 0 to 2, this is a way of slicing index from 0 to 2, and you can see we have got only first 2, and the reason is that the value you give here is excluded. It's not included in returning the value. So if I give 2 here, it means I want values up to index 1. So it will give me 1 and 2 of our list, and that's what we get here, right? Uh, so another way of inserting element in the list is the method insert itself. So let me just clear this. Append insert. Now let me just so now again we will add the value 8, but before that we will specify the position at which we want this element. So let me run this again. Okay, first I'll print the list. You can see here at the bottom that now 8 is at the first position at the 0th index, and 1 is shifted to the first index. So this is another good method that you should need to know. And the next one is the remove. Like now you have you know how to insert elements, but how do you remove elements? So say we have already this element 8 in our list, and now we want to remove this element. So it will be remove 8, and that should work fine. So you can see here we no longer have 8 in the list. It's just up to 4.6, though I have initializing in the initializing step of the list. I have 8 here, but there's no 8 here. So that's one thing. Now again, you can also work with 2 lists at a time. So let me create another list here, say having the elements 9 and 10. And what if I want to combine these elements together of this list and this list? So one way of doing is just extend. So if I do L1 dot extend L2, the elements of L2 will be in here. So what you can do is split this. You can see here at the bottom we have 8, 9 and 9 and 10 as well in the L1 list now. So that's way of combining L1 and L2 lists, you can say. Now another good method that you should need to know is the count method. So if you want to get the count of a value in your list, so for how many times a particular value occurs, so you can do that. Say I will do maybe 1. So I'll just print this now. And let's see 1, because 1 occurs 1 time. So if I change the list now and I keep 2 values for 1, and now if I do it, you can see 2 here at the bottom. So it gives you the count of the elements, this particular value in your list. So I think that's enough for list. You can just go online and look for all the methods. There are various methods for list, and it's not possible to cover all of them here. So but consider that list is really important. You will be working with list a lot. Let's go to the set. Now the only difference between set and a list is that set doesn't allow for duplication. So if you have say set 1, and there are again 2 ways to define a set. First is the keyword set that you can use. So this S1 is now a set, or you can another way is you can just use curly braces, and now again just define elements 3. This is also a valid way of describing a set. Okay, now if I give another value, say, and I will print this. So for now I will just comment these lines out. So let me just run this. Maybe I'll clear it first. So you can see we have our set here. So now again you can add a value here. Let me show you for the duplication thing. If I do that, see we have only one. Though I have initially kept one twice here at first and the last element, while in the output we have just once. So we have the number one just once. So that's one thing that you need to know. Duplication is not allowed in sets. Okay, and another way is you can also add elements to set. So for example, add what we will add 7. Okay, and now I will print the set. You can see we have 7 here in this set. That's the way. Again, you have a concept of frozen sets. So when you define it as a frozen set, it doesn't allow adding elements. So again, I'm not going into details because we don't require that much. You will use that definitely for mainly because of this duplication thing. When you want to remove the duplicate elements, so that time you will definitely use set, one of the, and these set has all these operations of union, intersection that we have in our set theory. So if you are fond of if you are really fond of mathematics, you can just check it out. There are various methods that can help you to achieve it. Operations of set theory in Python with these sets. Okay, enough of sets. Okay, done. Now we will move on to dictionary. Dictionary is one of the most important concepts in Python, and again we will see how we define a dictionary. The keyword is dict. Dict is the keyword that we use to define a dictionary, and the other way is curly braces. But the catch here is that it's not same as the set, defining a set, because in dictionary we have key value pairs. So for example, and this can be not necessarily be strings, it can be integer value or any other value as well. So key one, and I will print value one, and you can separate them with commas. So this is a key value pair, this is a key one, and this is value one, and these together form a key value pair. And similarly I can have another pair. This was value 2. So now if I print d1, then we have dictionary here printed, and you can traverse this dictionary, but for that you need for loop. So we'll get back here when once we get through the for loop. But now just have a look at the conditional statement. So conditional statements are just used to check for particular conditions. So for example, mm, if we say a is equal to 10, so we can check if, so if is a keyword again that checks for a particular condition. So we will say if a is greater than 0, print greater than 0. So this print will print it as if and only if 10 is greater than 0, right? Again, we can check multiple conditions using another keyword elif. Elif a is greater than 10, print greater than 10. Else, so the keyword else defines the default condition. So if none of the conditions above else are met, the else statement is executed. So I'll just write else statement. Oh, if I just run this, what would happen? Notice that uh, 10 is definitely greater than 0, but it's not greater than 10 itself. So only this condition will be executed and we will be having greater than 0 printed here. Let me run this. Greater than 0. So another thing is that instead of elif, you can use if as well. So if I do this, so what is the difference between if followed by another if and if followed by elif is that if uh, for for this condition here, even if this condition is met, the Python will still check for this condition. So this can be a little slower when you're working with huge data or something like that. But when elif is here, it stands for else if. So if this condition is not met, then and only then it will go for this condition. So that's one difference that I wanted to highlight. And yeah, I think, and this else is just for the default. If this condition is not met and this condition is not met either, then this condition this part of code will be executed. That's one thing. Okay, I think this is enough for conditional statements. Let me now go through for loop. And to understand for loop, one of the things you need to know is this concept of range. So print range here, range of 10. Let me run this. Range, okay, we'll just from 0 up to 10. And this 10 is excluded, just as we saw previously in the slicing part of list. So 10 is, so it will print from 0 to 9. So the total elements will be 10, but it will be printing from 0 up to 9. Now using for loop, you can traverse into these elements. So for I in range of 10, print I. If I just do this, as this will be printing everything from 0 to 9. Let me clear first. So let's run this. You can see everything from 0 to 9 here printed. Now you can also use for loop to traverse through uh, list, for example, a dictionary as well. I told you previously. For now for this, let me just uncomment this so we can use previously described things. So see, we have this list L1 here. So let's traverse through it. So what we shall do is for I in, and instead of range here, now we will just write L1. So now print I. So what this will do is that I will initially take the value of the first element in the list L1, it will print it. Then it will go to the second element. Then I will take the value of the second element of the list L1 and then it will print that. So that's how it goes, and that's how it printed these all numbers as well. So let me print again. So you can see all here these numbers. These are just because of those operations that we did, all these elements. Okay, and you can also use for loop to traverse through the key value pairs in dictionary. Let me go ahead and comment this, and I will uncomment this. Only this much. Okay, previously I think I put L1.com. That made issue. Okay, only D1 now. So for key, so now we will take two variables in D1 dot items. So note that in dictionary we have key value pairs. So uh, we will be using two variables to traverse. So key variable will be traversing through all the keys, and value variable will be traversing through all the values. Let me just format here. So I'll keep a placeholder here by using these brackets and dot format of key. So key will be printed on this place. I can do the same thing to get the values. Value and let me clear this so you can see. You can see key key1, value 1, key 2, and value 2. So that's how you can use for loop. Again, I will leave it in the description some tutorials on YouTube itself that can help you to go into the depth of Python. But I think these are the most basic things that you need to know. In the next video, we will be talking about the concepts that we will require in the future coming videos of our project. So this was just a basic overview of Python, and I hope to see you in the next one.